We are joined on this episode by a director, producer, and actor who you may have seen in Emily Hagins' Cold Open segment in the first Scare Package film, and also starring in Paper Street Pictures' latest feature, Sorry About the Demon, also now streaming on Shudder, also written and directed by the same Emily Hagins. He is her muse, I might say. He is Scare Package's secret weapon, I may even say. He's a very funny man. He is Jon Michael Simpson. Jon Michael, thank you so much for joining us on the program here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I've never been called someone's muse before, and I'm just thrilled and hope it sticks.
Well, there's a first time for everything. Just, add that to your bio and maybe it will
muse.
Stick, but super excited. I've seen you in several of the Paper Street ventures, and you're funny on screen. Let's see how funny you are on the podcast. No pressure though.
Sweating bullets. We'll see. Only time will tell.
So, we like to start off by asking guests in kind of a broad macro level. What gave you the bug? Like, what first got you interested in storytelling and writing and filmmaking and acting? Was there a person or experience or some kind of piece of pop culture that first hooked you into all this?
Oh, man. I feel like on the performing side, I come from just a big family and just a lot of very funny people and lots of mix of extroverts and introverts. But whenever we all got together, it was just like who wanted the attention the most and who could make the others laugh the most. And so I feel like as a kid, it was just like a game. Like if I could make my older siblings laugh or my mom or dad laugh, it was just like, yes, it was like a game. So I think just being in a big family and like those interactions, I just loved performing with them and kind of like doing improv bits and such to just make each other laugh for, whatever game we were playing at the time. But I feel like trying to think like the first time I performed, and I really feel like in school and middle school and high school, doing plays and doing musicals and just that lightning bolt that you would get when you were performing and you could just feel the audience either erupt in laughter or just really get into something was just like a drug and was a lot of fun. And the creating with your buds was always amazing. And all the stuff behind the scenes of just rehearsals or cast parties, it was just like this big circus and it was just so great. And I feel like that coupled with, I'm also just a very, I think, nostalgic, like sentimental person and would watch our home videos just all the time growing up and remember just like rewatching those endlessly. And so I feel like maybe on some of the storytelling side or directing side of me, or maybe what got me interested in film and kind of documentaries was just like, wow, you can record these things and they're just these living, breathing memories. And you learn stuff you didn't know about your past. And so those maybe would be kind of two places that I think the bug kind of started.
I love that. It's like this attraction to like the emotional rush of performance, as well as just like being able to like capture and bottle that in a performance and like make people feel something. And hence kind of like watching it back on video kind of feels like a film, right? That you're watching play out, even if it was real.
Totally.
Did you follow your interest into school beyond like plays in high school? Did you do anything beyond that, further training, maybe in college?
Yeah, so I started doing really musical theater and plays was my first like thing I got really into. And that happened around middle school and then in high school. And I started to do musicals outside of school with a fellow named Todrick Hall, who's really accomplished. He's a singer, he's a performer, he's a musical writer, and has gone to have a really fun career. And he came around our high school either my junior or senior year and was a part of this like traveling musical show that he directed called Cinderella Rock, I think. And so kind of just saw that there were outlets you could do it outside of school. And then my senior year of high school, I kind of started into film and I started working on these short films as an actor. And it was like, oh, whoa, there's this side of things too. And it felt completely different but also fun. And there was also that like team, that feeling that you were just making stuff with your buds and late nights, just filming instead of just doing a million, rehearsals over and over. So when it came to college, there were kind of like two routes. I was either going to go to the Oklahoma City University and study theater there or musical theater. And I kind of went and toured and saw that life would be, it felt like I was walking through like Fame, if you've seen that movie, where it's just like people dancing and people acting and everyone's life revolved around performing. And for some reason that kind of spooked me a little bit. I don't know why. I think I was like, well, I think I still want to just go to like a city where I can just be, I don't know, just like a normal student or something and experience other parts of life. And Austin was kind of that other option for me of just going. And I didn't know what I was going to study, but I could go there and knew there was going to be some kind of film or theater scene or something creative where I could keep performing. And I ended up coming to Austin for school. But at the time, I didn't know what I was going to study exactly.
So it kind of came on more organically than, developing your career over time. Did you end up going through the film program at Austin or just working on projects?
Yeah, for a little while there, I would keep, acting and trying to find, routes to do that, whether it was through improv or just little things I could figure out with friends initially. But I kind of got to school and had some kind of, I don't know if it was a quarter life crisis or what it was. I guess you're not even in quarter life at that point, but just kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I tried to go into business and study business at Macombs. And I'm taking calculus and I get like an A on the first test. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got an A on my first college calculus test. I'm a genius. This is amazing. And then the second test, got like a C or failed it, or, it just, as the test kept coming, I just progressively got worse and worse. And I took all the tutoring I could. I worked as hard as I could trying to figure out that class. And I remember like the test before the final came and I got some like terrible, like more than flunked it as hard as you can flunk it. I just remember just like having this conversation with my dad. It was just a very simple like phone call where he was like, yeah, this whole you trying to do study business thing, I don't know. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to try film. Because initially when I toured the film school, I just had some apprehension that I couldn't place my finger on. I think I saw like all the editing suites and just the deep, dark edit caves. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. But then I ended up switching into film after business not being a route because I needed that like calculus class to be able to switch. And that was the best thing that happened because I got to make my first short and I was hooked. It was just like, wow, this thing you wrote down became this living, breathing story. And it wasn't great, but I just loved the process and it was just kind of off to the races from there.
Nice. Suddenly those dank edit suites, you found out there's little magicians in there making your stuff sing. So
right.
let's say thank you to Papa Simpson because he did the inverse of the classic trope of like, no, you go harder at math, you go harder and you do the thing. You might want to give up comedy. He actually said give up business. So yeah. Good on you, Papa Simpson.
Yes. My parents were very, very supportive, and they both came from a media, production background. They were both producers, and I saw my dad work from home growing up. So I think there was some subconscious thing of like, okay, you can have a life, and you can, create things, and you can work in audio. And I didn't really know what my dad did for the longest time. He was, he did a lot of work in audio and radio initially, and kind of just progressed from there. And so I think seeing them kind of take that path, there was always a subconscious thing in the back of my head, like you'll figure it out, And so doing film just kind of led to meeting more filmmakers and getting to perform more. And yeah, so thank you too. Shout out, Dad.
So you said, you wrote something down and it came to life. Did you know back then that you thought it'd be more than just comedian, improv, sketch type stuff? Did you always think at some point I'll direct, I'll produce? Did you always kind of mean to be a multi-hyphenate from there?
Not really. I mean, I always just wanted to be, I was like, man, if I could do anything, I'd be on Broadway, in high school. And then it was like, okay, if I could do anything, I'd love to just like be on SNL or host late night TV. Like I just love to perform. And so I thought, performing was always the first thing. It was like the first love. It was just kind of this since I was a kid, I've always just enjoyed it and the goofiness and the creative challenges of, other forms of acting, whether it be drama or comedy or just all of it was so exciting. But then, I was kind of like made this short film and I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Or, you learn to edit in Premiere and you're like, wow, that's really cool. You can kind of play with the edits in these different ways and they evoke different reactions and you can take what you know about jokes and the timing of a joke and you can do that in this very other part of your brain kind of way. And so just kind of started to lean more into that of like, well, maybe I'll try to direct or produce another thing or, I'll try to write this and ended up meeting some of my best friends and collaborators who also to today that also did sketch. And we just kind of just tried to start making started just with sketch videos, really, I guess.
Well, now that you've done them, the nature of Scare Package 1 and kind of where your character Mike Myers left off, there was this thought way late in the post-production game to find a way to bring you back in for the ending, just to kind of put a button on where you were. And we're very glad we did. This is not a question, just an anecdote about a good decision that Aaron made late in the editing. But so while we know you mostly as an actor, you are, again, a multi-hyphenate producing and directing. Now, when you're acting, like when we'll back up to Sorry About the Demon in a minute, but like when you approach a role like that, is it hard to turn off the director and producer mind now that you kind of have tasted those worlds?
No, honestly, it's so relieving. It's like you don't have to be the parent. You don't have to put out I think I just have a respect for it. And you know how difficult it is and what a miracle it is for just like any production to finish and be available to watch somewhere. and you just know the work that goes into prep. So I think it just excites me to just fully be immersed as like, all right, I'm acting and this is, my job. And there's a lot of people here working really hard to make this come together. And so how can I, enjoy this and have fun? And there's kind of like still that childlike energy about it for me every time I get to do it. No, it's pretty easy for me to turn that stuff off, I guess.
That's
a
fair.
relief to turn it off.
Yeah.
Being a director producer is definitely incredibly stressful. It's different, right? I'm sure performing comes with a different stress. Like you're being more vulnerable, right, than you maybe are in those other roles. So it comes with its own challenges, I'm sure. But I definitely understand what you mean, where it's like you can let go of some of the worries about, my job is to, present my best self today. It's not to worry about like, is the catering going to show up on time or
Totally. Absolutely.
The set gonna
it's
fall
like
apart?
your worries or your focus just shifts. It's like, okay, did I nail that? Is that working? Is that, you're trying to get a little thumbs up or something from the director if you can, or, but to me, I would much prefer that over, like you're saying, like, oh my gosh, a C-stand just fell. Was anyone near it? Okay, what do we do? I don't know.
It's kind of like when you are directing, it's a child you're taking care of, but when you just show up to act, it's like you're the fun uncle that just takes a kid to the park for a little bit. You can
that's such it's like, all right, and cut. Okay, actors, you all want to go play some cards over here? Yeah. while the grown-ups figure this out. Okay, cool.
Speaking of directors, mentioned Cold Open, directed by Emily Hagins. And I was curious, is that the first time you worked together? I know you're both part of the Austin film scene, and you had worked on another short, part of the VHS Snapshot, First Kiss, but I'm not sure which came first. So how did you start working with Emily, and kind of what was it like collaborating with her on those first couple projects?
Emily is amazing. She is such an incredibly talented director and writer, and is just so thoughtful. I first worked with Emily on this kind of young adult prom shoot that was called Hold Your Best Self. And that was the first thing we ever met on. I just kind of did, a cold audition and got the part for this character named Sam, who was just like this brooding soccer player. It was not a comedic thing. He's like gone away to community college, but he's back at the high school prom with his date, who's her senior year. And so we first met on that set. That's where I met Ben Hanks as well, her partner and producing partner. And yeah, we just hit it off. It was just like from the get-go, like meeting her, I could just tell she was just had a very clear vision, but was also so collaborative. I never felt like I was going to mess up a take by trying something or experimenting with something. Day one, we were like, do a small rehearsal kind of before filming, and would kind of talk through the lines and the upcoming scene. And she would just be like, hey, feel free to say this, in your own words, or how would you say this? Or I kind of come from an improv background as well. So it was just really fun, because sometimes you don't know. So, the words are obviously very important. You want to nail it for the writer and the director. But if that is an option on a shoot, to be able to have that bandwidth to play with things and collaborate, you can sometimes, find some stuff that really works. And she's just definitely one of those very collaborative but strong directors. And so that was our first time working together, was in this kind of more of a drama series called Hold Your Best Self.
Ah, nice. And then you got to work with her a couple more times. And then I guess that kind of brings us to Sorry About the Demon, which not only were you working with Emily again, but also Paper Street and Shudder.
Yep.
So it's kind of bringing some of the band back together, if you will.
Absolutely.
So I know sometimes, on features, it takes a while maybe for a crew to sort of gel, the cast and crew to come together that way. But did it help kind of having a lot of collaborators that you already had relationships with?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Emily and I, we did Hold to Your Best Self, and then we just developed this friendship, her, Ben and I, and she found out like, oh, you do comedy and you're part of this sketch group. And, and there's that side as well. And I believe that First Kiss was the next project we did. And then after that, we did Cold Open, it felt like we found a really fun sweet spot for her and for myself. So she's just so great with horror comedy. And for me, I love comedies. I love especially physical humor, which there was a lot of that in Cold Open. And then getting to meet Aaron and Cameron and Ashley and all the Paper Street team, it was just like a really fun way in and a way for us to just like collaborate and do a couple of fun semi-delusional overnights where, when it comes to that like end of the day, everyone's just like laughing and losing it and trying to kind of like keep it together when your schedule flips. So coming into Sorry About the Demon with that background, I just felt like we were starting at such a really comfortable, playful space. We were in a genre that we knew. We were in a genre that we could play with and try, if something wasn't quite working with a line, well, let's try and, do something physical here and mix it up. Or I don't know, it just felt like a very safe space, I guess, to just try things. And the fact that we were shooting in this big, it's like semi-abandoned Holiday Inn in Canada was just also a surreal element to it, because Canada's quarantine policies at the time were so intense. I mean, we barely made it through the border. I remember talking to the border agent, and he was just like, why can't you shoot this film in New York? And we're like, I was like, I don't know. We're supposed to be here and do this. And we, but by the time we got in, it was like, you weren't really allowed to go anywhere else. You just had to stay in this big Holiday Inn. So it kind of just created this camp-like feeling, I guess, with the shared history plus the parameters that were around the production, because there wasn't really anywhere else to go.
Yeah, this film was like height of the pandemic, pre-vaccine. You guys are getting meals delivered to your doors. All of was done via Zoom from everybody's own bedrooms in the hotel. Yeah. And for those who don't know, like the entirety of the interior was a build out in the giant conference/ballroom of that Holiday Inn. So every bit of interior you see of the home itself is an amazing build by the production designers on that movie.
Oh man, they so talented, and shout out to them. They worked so hard, and really
Joshua Turpin and Somerville Black, to name a few.
Shout out.
Yeah, it was amazing. That space really felt like so textured and layered. And as an actor, was it really fun to be able to play in something like that? Because there's so many little nods to like your character and kind of like all the hobbies. So it must have been fun to kind of like be more, immersed in that atmosphere to help bring out kind of like make you feel like you really are that person.
Yeah, no, they did. That was my first time working with a set that was built out. So it was really fun for me. And I mean, you're sitting there in the final days of pre-production and seeing them just like build it, and there's some that are like multi-level, and you're just like, wow, this is going to be so, fun is I just think the right word, because the camera too, they could do stuff like, okay, we want to move through a wall. Great. We just cut a hole in the wall. And so it just opened up a lot of possibilities that I think normally, can slow things down, or you just don't, just kind of open the door, I guess, for us to just play with more ideas, to film through ovens, to move cameras through the walls, to do longer takes where you could do a little more with the performance and kind of take things from 0 to 100 steadily. And so it was really fun to get to be in that environment.
Besides the very strict protocols, which Canada, I think it's hilarious. I didn't know the story that they were asking you, why aren't you doing this in New York?
Oh, yeah.
How much time do you have, guy? Like between the unions and the incentives and stuff, there's a reason we're coming to you. But
I have no idea. Just please let us through.
Sir, I'm an actor. But
I want to perform.
Yeah. Outside of those COVID protocols, what did you experience any like challenges on set, something out of the ordinary? I know every film shoot's a little different. And again, you've been behind the camera too, so like every shoot's got some kind of challenge. Anything unexpected hit you guys that were outside of the protocol stuff, obviously?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the goo was something. I guess I shouldn't give like spoilers and such, but there's some goo and there's some substances involved in the film, or maybe spoilers are okay. But either way, we had to work with this stuff that a lot of us just got covered in, and Paige and Presley especially had to just get head to toe in this stuff, and it was like super freezing, and I think it happened to be like a pretty chilly day there too. We were filming inside, of course, but I think there just became this like consistency battle of just like the proper levels of goo, and meanwhile it's like a big action part of the film, so we're trying to dial in this blocking, and I think just some of the really cool practical effects that we were doing, or that the team was doing, I should say, just sometimes would add in just these elements of like, okay, we've got like 8 people, 3 buckets of this goo stuff, only so much time in the day. So those were definitely moments on set where you could just feel like, okay, cool, when we roll, let's try to nail this and keep everybody warm and as in the least level of discomfort, as possible. I think I got to avoid some of that colder, goopy stuff though. I'm trying to think what else was just like something that was, and maybe this is a better maybe a more succinct bit. I get this cast at some point during the film, and it kind of became this game of like remembering, we had the scenes marked when to have it on or when to have it off. But there was this one particular scene where we were really short on time during the day. It was just one of those where we were just behind for whatever reason, and we're all trying to work to just like still make our day. And we performed this whole scene. We're like, woo, we got it. Yeah, everyone's like high-fiving. Oh, that was great. And I just looked down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have my cast on because we had just been jumping around filming back and forth so many times. And so I remember just going up to Emily and Cameron at the time, who was ADing. And I was just like, I think we have to do this again. And thankfully we were able to move things around and do it. But that was a first for me, was cast remembrance. But that was the only time that happened, thankfully.
Well, it's a good thing you noticed. But
Yeah,
I've definitely been there before with I'm wearing the wrong shirt, or oh wait, in this moment, isn't this supposed to be the ripped one?
Right. There's just endless minutia to keep up with, and sometimes you catch it at the last second.
Right. And that's, part of the challenge of filmmaking, going back and forth, and we rush in to make your days. And, there's so many people there that could catch that. But sometimes I do find the actors tend to be the ones, one of the first people to call out like those sort of inconsistencies. Because I think you have to put yourself in that mind of like, where am I at right now? What is happening in, in my world? So like you're maybe more hyper aware even than maybe some of the wardrobe or production design folks at certain times of exactly where your character's at.
So there's a world of this film where Will's hand is just miraculously healed for just one scene and then goes back to, but we caught it. So that did not turn out to be how it played out.
Right. Yeah. And I love what you said about the goo, because, it's common knowledge with horror films is like everyone says once the blood is on set, everything slows down. In this case, goo, blood, same thing, basically, because you can't really reset once it comes out, and you're like everything, you got to get everything else that needs to be clean in advance. Those are good stories. I do want to say, though, I think part of the charm about the Demon is just the tonal balance between the horror and the comedy. Emily's films often kind of feel like this wholesome horror film, which is really unique, I think, in the genre. But I think this only works because the characters feel so sincere. And so I think a lot really was on your shoulders to kind of carry, those feelings throughout the film. And you did it very well. Did it take some time to kind of find that right tone in the performance between like the humor, the horror, and the sentimentality? You have experience in horror comedy with Emily, but I imagine some scenes it's like, oh, do we need to dial this back or up or down?
Oh man, that's a really, well, thank you. First of all, that's very kind. And yes, it's definitely something we were working hard to nail. And yeah, just kind of the level of goofiness, I guess, of just like, hey, we wanted obviously Will to be grounded. I think something we were aware of too is like, we didn't want him to just feel like this big, man baby that has nothing to kind of offer or isn't. And obviously it's all centered on him trying to kind of figure out what to do, but to not go so far that you're kind of just like, well, what's the deal with this guy? Why is everyone kind of sticking around or care so much, And then to the comedy horror level, I think we kind of did think of them as scales in a way. Like I remember talking with Emily specifically on the horror front of like, hey, kind of, nothing too crazy, but would just make it into literally like, is this like a level 1 scare happening right now or like a level 5? And is it fine if I make this like a bit and like a scare that would also be like funny, or does it need to be just like, all right, this one is just like, he's just completely, terrified. And so I think with all of it was like trying not to play into like, oh, be funny or be goofy, always just, hopefully it comes across just playing like this is just how this character is organically reacting to these situations. But at the same time, you are making a comedy and you want to help just have those right ingredients in there where people feel okay to laugh. And then, we've got these other scenes where he's really trying to sort through this relationship and these ways he's kind of, just not being able to commit and has these kind of sincere, longer conversations with Amy, who's played by Paige Evans, who's amazing and just would crush it in every scene. And so, yeah, that was just always something on our mind, is just like, what level are we hitting? Kind of what's the tone of this and what's the scene trying to accomplish? And, I could definitely find myself taking it too far one way or the other. And Emily, that's just where she's really great at just being able to sense that out, just being like, whoa, reel it back in. We're over here. But again, I never walked away from a take feeling like, oh, I really messed that up, or, oh, I shouldn't have done this or done that. She just got a really great gift to kind of make you just just feel like, hey, that was great. Let's kind of try it this way and push it more here. And then I could kind of, start to pick up more on those hints of like, okay, great. We really need to steer this scene more towards earnestness, maybe rather than him being petrified, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you kind of hinted at this earlier with having that collaborative space to be able to change things up. You obviously we respect the scripted words, but sometimes it calls for, you discover new things in the collaboration or maybe in a rehearsal. There's a lot of moments in the film that feel genuine and very like unexpectedly funny. So I did find myself wondering kind of naturally, like, oh, was that a scripted moment or was that an improvised line that kind of made it into the final cut? So I was kind of curious, like how much of that was at play, especially it sounds like you have this improv background, right? Did that happen a lot, or is a lot of it actually just the scripted word and it just the combination of the writing and your performance, it comes out, feeling so organic?
It was a lot of it is the script, and the script's just really strong, and Emily just made such a funny story. And so I would think a lot of it is, and thankfully just having worked with Emily too, I knew that she was the kind of director that was open to, we'd have a lot of conversations of like, hey, here's this monologue or here's this bit and here's what's on the page. Let's just run this. And she'd be totally open to like, what would be another way you'd want to say it? Or I'd, pitch her an idea on, hey, what if we tried to phrase it this way? And there'd be some things that she thought would work and we'd go with, and some things that wouldn't. And I think just having that space where, it's not like your identity if it's the wrong idea, if that makes sense, of just like, hey, what do you think of this? And just being open to it and holding it loosely. Emily has that. And I had ultimate trust in her kind of always when we were performing. So I knew if she thought something would work and we tried it, then that was fun. And if she wanted to pass on it or didn't feel like the right tone, just trusting that too, and trying not to get too married to an idea, because, it's on her to kind of shape this whole narrative and character or story, I should say, from A to B. And there's probably good reason if an idea won't play. But I guess one example where it did was like, there's this song that Will sings when Amy kind of texts him that she's going to come back over, and he's like, oh great, she wants to come over, this means like we're totally getting back together, which is absolutely not her intention at all with the message. And there's this song that I get to sing in it, and that was one where she was just kind of like, hey, do whatever you want. And so I just started to record all these different versions and kind of genres of like how the song might sing. Like maybe it's like a butt rock, like Creed version of this song, and then there's this other one that's like a Michael Jackson, more like poppy one. And just started playing them for her. And then we would just, on the day, we just kind of did a bunch of them. And how the way that they edited it, and Michaela, who just, I think, did an incredible job on the edit, they kind of combined all of them, which I thought was really fun, and just kind of makes this a moment that I really enjoyed, and I think was a really fun kind of collaboration of everyone.
Thank you for bringing back the term butt rock. I haven't heard that one in a couple of years.
We cannot forget the importance of Creed and Nickelback and what they've done for us.
At least what they've done for the internet, and some kind of like collective uniting of hatred against them. Oftentimes unfounded, but
yeah.
In the you're always learning, Scorsese and people like that still say they learn something new every time they're making a new movie. Were there any lessons you kind of took, or any experiences you took from Sorry About the Demon that'll take with you to the next project, be it as a performer or behind the camera?
That is a great question. I feel like Sorry About the Demon was just such a fun, immersive experience, I think, with, every day we would finish. Essentially, I would kind of, we'd hang out for a bit, but inevitably sometime that night I'd get to my room and be running lines or scenes for the next day, or just kind of preparing, how we were going to approach it. And, by the time it gets to week 3, week 4, whatever the week 5 of your schedule, you definitely start to feel the wear of that, further on your mind, and you're trying to keep that focus. And I kind of feel like when things start to go on autopilot is where it becomes not a good thing, and so I feel like you're just always, whether you're acting or directing or, whatever you're bringing to set, you want it to just feel intentional, and you want to feel like you're trying some kind of thoughtful idea, even if it's, a loose version of it, and you're trying to find it on set. And I think this was just a reminder to me doing this, just the importance of preparation, the importance of trying to come in every day and really in every scene, and just, never phone it in. And there was definitely, I remember there was one day in particular where I felt like, just tired, and there was some kind of scene work of me kind of like looking at objects or moving objects around or something. And I remember the first take of the first day, I started off and I kind of going through the motions. And Erico, the director of photography, just looks at me. He's just like, dude, are you okay? And it's just like, he could immediately feel that I was just like, for whatever reason, just wasn't all there. And it kind of snapped me out of it. And I appreciated him kind of, just checking with me. And that was, I think just that moment was such a good reminder of like, yep, don't, not even once, because people will feel it and it'll come across on screen. And there's, nothing you can do when it's time to move on. So I think that was a good moment with Eric, Coach Eric. Shout out to Eric. Thank you for giving me a little slap.
Another previous guest of the show, Eric. Oh, yes. Very good.
Legend.
We mentioned you being behind the camera as well. What is up next for you as far as a focus? Like, you've got a documentary under your belt. Is there a particular area you're going to kind of pursue, or are you going to continue being a multi-hyphenate and try to direct, produce, and act? Is there something you're kind of narrowing in on these days, or what's the goal for Jon Michael next?
Oh, I feel like I'm always trying to like figure out like, man, what is that one thing that you're best at? Or what is it that I think I'm good at, but I don't know if I'm great at? Or, is there something that is just elusive North Star that I really need to be, tuned into? And I think what I've tried to do so far is just be, and nothing new than, what other people have said, I'm sure, but just kind of being open to where the open door is and knowing yourself well enough to know what you're going to bring, your best work to, and what lights you up and what you truly just enjoy. I feel like the stuff we enjoy, it's the same stuff you've enjoyed since you were a kid, which I think is performing to me. But there's also this newer craft that I've really fallen in love with, which is, directing and producing. And it started with making a documentary about my neighbor and his recovery from an accident that happened. But I didn't really find that out till my sophomore year of college. And that's been something that's been really cool to nurture and see develop into this documentary series. And it's something I never saw myself doing ever, but it's been such a love that, in documentary, your job is literally, you get to travel somewhere, meet a new person and community, and you just get to be a student of that person and that story, or, that subject material. And it's totally fulfilling in a different way than performing is. And kind of like we talked about, you're the parent and you're making sure the kids get where they need to go, and that the narrative's on track, and that you're on budget and you're taking care of all the stuff you need to. So I really hope to, I guess, just be able to continue to do all of those things. But where it feels organic and makes sense, and hopefully just being open to walk through the door that opens up, and that it's something that just feels like a good fit. But Sorry About the Demon was such a gift, in that it was my first, it's really my first feature to do in a leading capacity. And I loved it. It was so different than anything else I've ever done, directing or producing on the feature side. And I'm definitely hungry for that next feature. And I hope to, be able to perform a lot more, if whatever in the universe will allow it.
No, I have no doubt you'll work with Emily again. You work with Paper Street again. We will gladly take you where we can get you. You mentioned the autopilot, which was a good piece of advice. Do you have any more like kind of macro, or even just kind of a broader advice for any young filmmakers out there listening, maybe writers, actors, performers who are just starting out? What's a little nugget of wisdom you might share with them?
I think not to sound cheesy or hokey, but finding those collaborators that are going to be, I think relationships are so important and is talked about a lot, but not just like who can I network with, or who's like a hotshot person that maybe I can get to kind of, turn my way or help my project go to the next step. That stuff's really hard to, when you can find those collaborators that kind of see the same things you do, or, obviously you're going to have creative differences, but people that you really just enjoy being around, that you want to get into the thick of things with, and you're kind of just open to supporting each other. For me, that was my Jeff McQuidian, who also acts in the film as Patrick, and our other buddy, Chad Werner. They were two of my closest friends that I met in college, and we would just hop around on each other's sets, holding a microphone or producing for each other or performing in each other's projects. And then, meeting Emily and Ben, that's kind of been a similar, and even Paper Street, it's just kind of one of those relationships too, where you just want to be a good cheerleader and an on the ground person to help those other projects that friends of yours are excited about happen. And kind of organically, then that will lead to moments where maybe you're creatively spearheading something. You've got that support and people you trust. And I think just finding a good team of people you trust and care for and, even love is a huge, huge benefit on set, which can just be such like the Wild West kind of navigating.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think I've heard folks say, find your film family.
Yeah.
Because it really is, one of the mediums that you can't do it by yourself.
Nope.
You need a large family to do it. to do it well. So it's one of those arts that requires collaboration with people of various skill sets. So I think that's really great advice, not only for, producing the best work, but also kind of like the emotional support as well that comes with the business, which can be very challenging. So thank you for that sound advice.
Absolutely. It can be a beatdown in a lot of ways, but when it gives, it's amazing. And it can also be, very enjoyable. And so to have those people there that you really care for, and you're like, wow, look, we've done this, or we made this thing, or look, we got to this step is just such a great feeling, and to be there, like for Sorry About the Demon, acting with Jeff, who's been a buddy of mine for 10 years, and we've been making stuff for 10 years. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is just the most fun, and led to just really fun scenes on set as well. And of course, with Emily directing it all and having that comfort there, it was just like, great, we're just going to go play. Makes it a little bit less daunting to tackle.
Indeed. And that wraps up, I think, the formal interview part of this. The next leg of this, as I warned Jon Michael off air here, is the Rapid Fire 15. I know a lot of people freak out about it, but he's got the confidence of all of us white males. Boy. The unfounded, unearned confidence. Yeah. No, he's fine.
Right. It's prime for just taking the legs out from under too. It's
what we tell people is there's no points. It's not a test. It's not a cool test or anything like that. All we're saying is just, if we say what's your favorite thing, just the first thing that comes to mind. We're not going to grade you on it. It's just so the audience can learn a little bit more about you. All.
Okay, do my best.
So this Rapid Fire 15 tailored for Jon Michael Simpson. I'll start us off here with question 1. We usually start with, what movie do you think you've seen the most in your life?
You Got Served. It's a dance battle movie starring B2K Omarion, and I used to watch it every week as a kid.
I think I need to see that.
Bingo card.
You guys gotta see it. You gotta see it.
I remember it when it came out, but I haven't seen it. And I actually kind of enjoy movie, like dance off, sing off kind of movies.
Absolutely.
They're really fun.
So fun. It's like gladiator battles, but dance.
Yeah, there was one that came out on Netflix recently that was actually pretty good. Oh gosh, I'll have to come back to it. But I was surprised. It was actually a really good dance off movie. I'll move on to question 2. In the meantime, what's the first film that really scared you, or stuck with you, gave you nightmares?
Oh my gosh. Okay, couple. I remember being just terrified in when a stranger calls. I remember just being in the theater, and like a friend of mine, I'm in middle school at the time, and a friend of mine is like tearing up. I'm like, it's gonna be okay. It's just a movie. But on the inside, I'm like, I'm dying. I'm just like, oh my God, this is so scary. And definitely one of those that just like stuck with me. As an adult, The Conjuring, definitely. I was a full blown adult human for just 2 weeks, like being afraid of the dark. So that one got me very bad.
When a Stranger Calls, was that the remake that you saw?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was the remake. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, sometime check out the original. Although it might reopen some wounds.
I know. I have to be prepared.
Nice. Work It was the name of the dance film I was thinking of, by the way.
Oh, Work It. Okay.
Yep.
What would you say is your favorite sketch comedy series of all time? And if you don't have one that comes to mind immediately, maybe which one do you think has maybe the best batting average?
Oh man. Key and Peele. Batting average wise, they have just so many hits and so many just quotable, amazing, hilarious, and terrifying sketches. Monty Python obviously comes to mind. I might have to go with I'm going to go with Key and Peele. As of late, I have not been able to stop watching I Think You Should Leave. And Tim Robinson is just so damn funny.
Mm-hmm.
And
Key and Peele. Final answer. One answer.
When you brought up I Think You Should Leave, it just made me think of the haunted house tour segment, and kind of
yes
related to Sorry About the Demon, and some funny places you could go with that. But
I don't want to make it the worst day of anybody's job.
I love it. Question 4. What is your all-time favorite comedy film?
Oh, man. Oh, that's really hard. Tommy Boy. Chris Farley makes me laugh just so hard, and I will cry laugh watching that probably once a year. It's just so good.
Yeah, agreed. There does seem to be a gender and age divide with that man because my wife did not grow up with him, and I will sit there and laugh cackling, and she will sit there and go, "Is this funny?" Like she does
This
not
is
like spastic
stupid.
heavyset comedian guy.
Oh, I love it.
I know.
Black Sheep and Tommy Boy are the best double feature.
Yes, and him and David Spade together are just this perfect duo. And oh man, he does physical comedy better than anyone. He was electric to watch. It was just so funny and so sweet. Just a big sweet teddy bear.
Yeah, agreed. I'm on board. Do you have a favorite all-time stand-up comic, or maybe if not a favorite stand-up bit or routine?
Who's the favorite? I really, Adam Sandler, I think, is up there for me. And his what was Certified Fresh, I thought was just such a great special. And I think maybe just because Chris Farley's at the top of my brain right now, I'm just thinking of that song that he did to him. I think my all-time favorite comic is probably Steve Martin. I just grew up on him and just think pretty much anything he or Martin Short touches is just gold.
Good, solid answer. What is your favorite documentary, or if not a favorite, maybe one that always stuck with you or had a big influence on you?
I think Marwin Call is one of the better documentaries I've seen. I remember before I started High on Blake, which was my first doc ever, I made it in college and had no idea what I was doing. And I got this Sundance film pass, and I just started watching docs on there. And Marwin Call, The Crash Reel, and Dear Zachary were three that just really impacted me for different reasons. I think what stood out to me about Marwin Call was just the fact that, and this movie's been out for a while, so I feel okay spoiling it. And this is the documentary, I haven't seen the feature version, but just the fact that by the end of it, you find out that this person is actually this incredible artist and didn't even realize that that's what he was doing. And I was just like, wow, I didn't know that a film could do this, where at first you think you're just kind of watching someone who's like, wow, this is really interesting. What's he doing? He's making these Barbie villages. What is this? And then by the end, you're like, oh, this dude's an artist. And he probably wasn't even aware of that. And so I just remember that really, really stuck with me, that reveal. Nice.
These have all been clown questions. We're getting to the serious questions now. Jon Michael Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
Who is your favorite Muppet?
Oh, geez. Miss Piggy. No context.
None needed.
No.
Yeah, we won't ask any follow-ups. We get it.
Please, no further questions.
All right, this next one will be fun. Who was your first celebrity crush? Could also be Miss Piggy. I don't know.
I really can't comment anymore on that. You're really gonna have to stop asking questions about that one. I think Hayden Panettiere, and I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, was first crush. First famous person crush.
So her fall off that bridge in Heroes, you're like, that's it. She's the one.
She's it. Yeah. I'm trying to think I can't remember the show.
Was that the first thing that's the first thing I think I knew her from was Heroes?
I think was her big breakout role. And then I do remember her in Scream 4, of course, but that was after Heroes.
Right. Jon Michael's going to be like, oh no, it was Nashville. It was this random scene in Nashville.
Gotta Google it. What was it? It was Bring It On, All or Nothing. I can't even remember.
Bring It On, All or Nothing. Oh.
We are talking
Bring It On.
Dance movie sequels galore on this episode.
Dang.
Come on, we need to be talking about more dance-offs. Gotta keep you on your toes.
I like it.
We ask every kind of Austin or Austin adjacent guest this question, but what is, for your money, the best barbecue in or around town?
Oh, Curlin. I'm Team Curlin, especially their breakfast kolaches. If you haven't had the kolaches, they're amazing.
Oh, that's one thing I miss about Austin. The savory kolaches were legit.
Yes, you'll go to sleep immediately after, of course, but it'll taste great.
And that's how you know you're in a good barbecue town, when we can use this question and we get basically a different answer every time. Normally in a place, it's like everywhere I was, we have this one really great barbecue restaurant. But in Austin, people will live or die by their loyalty to their barbecue. So
it's true.
So, but I always make a list so that next time I'm in town, I got to hit them up.
Yeah, try Curlin. They're a trailer and it's very, very good. Franklin's, of course, is amazing. I legit remember falling asleep after the first time, waited in line and did the whole thing and then had it. And I was like, man, I just fell asleep 30 minutes after eating it.
I went to a meat coma.
Yeah, the meat sweats began building and it was over.
Do you have a favorite concert you've attended or a memorable concert experience?
memorable concert experience. I remember my wife and I, when we first started dating, it was ACL weekend, and she was going to ACL and I didn't know if I could make it, and I at the last minute kind of just showed up and grabbed a ticket out front. I think I paid someone like $60 or something to like just slip their wristband onto my like wrist. And I get in to see, it was Ben Howard who she was watching, and that phone service and stuff wasn't working. And remember just kind of like being like, I think I'll just find her. And crazy enough, just like went to the right side of the crowd and found her. And it was just one of those like really fun, like life's a movie moments, I think, of just finding her in that massive crowd. And the concert was really great, and it was a good memory.
Nice. Some things we learned from Cameron Burns about you brought up this next question. What is your favorite pop punk album?
Ooh, love pop punk. I missed the Scene days. I was a big Forever the Sickest Kid fan, for people from them from DFW. Gosh, my favorite pop punk album. Oh, Fall Out Boy's Sugar We're Going Down Swinging album. I can't remember the name of that. No, wait. Yeah. Nope. I take it back. My Chemical Romance, Black Parade, 100%. I wore that album out. So good.
Also featuring one of the best karaoke songs. Speaking of which, we've heard that your karaoke singing is legendary. Also, thanks to Cameron. Apparently, you did a duet once with him. What are your go-to karaoke songs?
Cameron's got all the dirt. Go-to karaoke. Oh man, With Arms Wide Open by Creed is one. David Bedingfield, Butt Rock. Yeah, we got to keep it alive, and it's a big issue, and there's not enough people that are aware of it. And I hope that's the one thing people take away from this podcast. David Bedingfield, who is Natasha Bedingfield's brother. Some people are not aware of him. He has a song called "If You're Not the One" that I just love, and it's this pop, very heartbreaky song that's a lot of fun. And then Fall Out Boy, Sugar We're Going Down. That I will forever be pumped up by that song. Yeah. And if I'm singing with Cameron, then we're singing Driver's License 100% of the time.
Very good. Similarly, in that music realm, what would be your walk-up music? So say you were coming out to introduce a movie or for a TED Talk, or you were coming out to fight, play baseball, something. What's your entrance music? What are you walking out to pump everybody up?
Oh, man. Friday, Rebecca Black, I guess. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
I love that. That song is, actually pretty catchy. I will admit.
It's a banger. If it's a fight, maybe they're not taking me fully serious, and they should, or, and if it's not, just like a talk, just everyone knows it, whether you want to know it or you don't, you know it. Gets the people going.
Yeah. And jokes on everyone else. She actually is like a legit pop singer now, and very different image. So she followed her dreams. All right. Question 14. If you could have the answer to one unknown question in the universe, what would it be? Like, is there a God? The origin or meaning of life? The day you'll die?
Whoa.
Who killed JFK?
Whoa. One answer. This is tough. Is the dress gold or blue? What color was it really this whole time?
Ooh, I remember that. But don't we know the definitive answer, or do you not believe?
Wait, no, I don't know if I heard the definitive answer.
I thought the idea was certain people saw the blue, and because they have like a slightly different...
it was white and gold, but some people see blue and black. I guess it depends on like what you see first, and that becomes
like a cones and rods thing, or is it just whatever you see first, and then that's it forever? And
once you know it, or if you see pictures of the different pictures and different lighting of the actual dress, then you can go back and look at it and see it the right way. But it was white and gold, I believe. That's
okay.
See, I had it backwards. I thought it was actually blue.
Oh, maybe.
No, you might be right. I saw blue. I can tell you that. I remember that being a whole thing. My wife saw white. I saw blue. I'm just glad Jon Michael is really going to get down to the most important possible unknown. Well,
question. You heard it here first. Butt Rock, we're keeping it alive, and it's white and gold, and that's.
Oh, it is blue and black, actually. I just looked it up.
Well,
it was actually blue and black.
It's blue and black.
I couldn't remember which one, but they did definitively.
That's that.
That means you saw white and you wanted to be right. I know what it was.
Yeah.
Wait, so you, in this scenario, you gave me the ultimate answer then. So what does that make you? You're God.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Cool. I'm going to add that.
Unless I misunderstood the question. Yeah.
Well, there's a Wikipedia entry that's called The Dress, and it's about that. That's amazing.
Shout out to my friends in Newport Richey, which is in northern Pinellas County next to Tampa in Florida. Jon Michael is wrong because over there, butt rock has never died. It has always been the top thing.
Yes.
He says it's coming back, but I'm telling you, it still lives in pockets of this country.
We'll bring scene music back then. That's the third agenda.
There you go. That is due.
Dress.
It's like every 20-year thing. It's coming up on the 20 years of all that early 2000s. So final question, not nearly as existential, just what would be your dream project to make, whether it's to write, direct, star? Is there a genre? Is there a period? Is there a style of film or documentary you'd like to tackle, an IP you'd like to make?
Oh, man. There's lots of stuff that I'm excited about. I think before I would love to be in like a whodunit, to get to act in some kind of mystery thriller, comedy, whodunit. That'd be great. I'm going to go with whodunit. That's it. That's all I got for you.
All right. Next Knives Out mystery.
Right. We know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah.
We know a guy? Nope. All right.
Oh, ba-da-bum.
No, here's hoping. We do hope for the best for you, of course. And like I said, we'll be working with you again sooner than later. Don't think it was not for lack of trying. We tried to have him in Scare Package 2, Becky. It just did not work out timing-wise because Jon Michael was out doing important things and making his first films and such. But there'll be a 3 down the road, I think I could safely say.
I was very sad to miss it. Yeah, I'm fingers crossed for some more. Yeah. Seems like Shudder's loving it. Seems like that's. Do y'all know for sure yet if you're able to do more of those, or is it?
Oh no, we will do one regardless, whether Shudder tells us or not.
It will happen.
If we make it in the backyard, we'll figure it out. But the fan response has been again overwhelming. We can't thank the folks enough, and the Mutant fam and all that from like Joe Bob's camp and all have been so supportive and so cool about it. But yeah, I do believe Shudder would be willing. So we'll talk about that down the road.
Well, congrats on that release too. Very exciting.
Thank you for adding to our Paper Street Shudder library. So again, sorry about the demon on the service as of January 19th. And likely as you're hearing this, it is out there along with several other Paper Street features. And Jon Michael, you passed again. There was no test, there was no score, but you passed with flying colors.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God. Becky said be funny.
Notes. And,
I have yet to see any evidence of that, but other than that, you bet.
Yeah, other than sorry about the demon, are there any other projects that you have coming out that you can talk about that you want folks to keep an eye on, or anywhere else you'd like to direct people?
Yeah, my first documentary, Hi, I'm Blake, about my neighbor's recovery. It's an inspirational, comedic and dramatic documentary, I guess is maybe what you could call it, but an inspiring doc. It led to this series called the Hi, I'm series that is on HBOMax, and you can see the documentary side of things there. We have Hi, I'm Travis Mills, which just released November 11th on Veterans Day, and really, really amazing guy in community and really powerful story. And then Hi, I'm Sevi is also can be found there, which was just nominated for an Emmy, which was crazy. We didn't win. Would have been cool. We lost to Ron Howard and Brian Grazer doc. So I was like, well, if we're going to not get it, who are they? Yeah, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Well, congratulations all the same.
Oh, thank you. It was a very, very fun experience. But the Hi, I'm series, if you want to check out some docs, if you want to wet your whistle on some documentary work.
Very cool.
That's my plug. Boom, plug.
Awesome. And thank you for the time. Thank you for the answers here. Sorry about the demon. Check this movie out on Shudder. Again, as of January 19th, it should be there as you're hearing this episode. Jon Michael Simpson, funny guy, great collaborator with both Emily and Paper Street, who again, we will work with again.
Well, thank you, Jon Michael. It was fun chatting with you about unexpected things like butt rock and dance movies, all the things we need to bring back. We have our new agenda items. So go forth and bring them to the world as so foretold, or something like that. But thank you. Seriously, it was a lot of fun chatting with you, and congrats on all your success so far. And I'm going to check out those docs on HBOMax. Yeah, can't wait to see what you have next.
Thank y'all both. This was seriously so fun, and is a first for me, and had a blast. It was a dream doing Sorry About the Demon and getting to work with Paper Street and Emily and the whole gang. So hope we can keep doing it, and hope y'all have a great week.
All right, we appreciate it, Jon Michael. I was about to say John again. Appreciate it, Jon Michael.
Don't you do it. All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.